Hello, dear listener. Here at Kardec Radio, we are on day 49 to study The Medium's Harvest, a book that was written by the spirit author Emmanuel through the medium Chico Xavier. And in the writing of this book, Emmanuel was expanding the teachings of the medium's book. It's been 48 days to day 49, and we're studying chapter 49, which is about hidden treasures. It's about questions that we may ask the spirits. Are there specific questions we shall never ask them? And if we do, is that going to go anywhere? Kardec, as a wonderful educator, in 1861, compiled the medium's book and really covered all the bases, the foundational part of it. There is a specific chapter, 26, in which he talks about the questions that may be addressed to spirits. Only wisdom can really think about that element, but we cannot forget, Spiritism is a science. Spiritism is a science that studies what is the object of the spiritist science. Not the physical body, but the spirit. Its origin, its nature, the destiny of spirits, and the relationship with the corporeal world. This is what the spiritist science is all about. And talking about the spiritist science and understanding the interaction, of course, it makes sense that Kardec compiled a chapter 26 in the medium's book regarding the questions we may ask the spirits. And there is one in particular we're going to study today with Emmanuel, which is probably one of the main reasons why people may consult the spirits. It's about hidden treasures. We're not talking only about hidden treasures, but about lottery, finances. And there is one, item 295, paragraph 30, in which Kardec asked the following question to the spirits. Can spirits reveal the whereabouts of a hidden treasure? Well, what's the answer of the superior spirits? Through the mediums, they replied to Allan Kardec. High-order spirits do not concern themselves with such things, but mocking spirits often reveal the whereabouts of non-existent treasures. Or they might even indicate one place while the actual treasure is in another. Ironically, that has its usefulness in order to show that true fortune is in labor. If Providence destines hidden wealth to someone, that person will find it naturally and not by some other means. So the answer is there. Oh no, I thought the spirits could tell the numbers of the road. They can, but will they? No, not the superior ones. Did you know that Chico Xavier himself, he had a father, his father used to sell lottery tickets. And he would every now and then ask Chico, come on, ask the spirits for the number of lottery. Or he would say, ask the spirits if we can keep the copyright of any of your books. Can you believe it? It is true. It is true that that pressure existed in Chico Xavier's life. His family was not totally understanding of his mission at first. It took them quite a while. But his father in particular, he couldn't understand it at first. He even burned messages that were written by Chico Xavier, psychographed by him. And when Chico would wake up, he would find the psychographed messages burned by the father, who was upset that he was working with the spirits and none of it ever benefited them. A lot of food for thought. What does Emmanuel tell us regarding this? Is there anything else that Emmanuel shall add to this? Of course, Spiritism as a science always progresses. Then Emmanuel comes and adds new elements. What are the elements? Chapter 49, Hidden Treasures. That was written on July 4th, 1960, in a public meeting where Chico Xavier psychographed this message based on this very item, 295, paragraph 30. There are people who still address discarnate companions asking for hidden treasures, guarding their unhealthy imagination. Such people imagine recipients embedded in the subsoil or in the body of muddy walls, dripping with coins and precious things that meet their usury wishes. And they hammer inexperienced mediumship and ask for revealing dreams. But the really enlightened spirit friends do everything so that the brethren of the physical school do not find similar golden bombs that would probably explode in their hands in the form of crime. However, each human being emerges from the cradle to discover the talents that they bring regardless of earthly fortune, in order to help others valuing themselves. Women and men take advantage of the love that flows freely from God and erect the sanctuary of the home in which imperishable treasures of the soul are hidden. The teacher employs words that are priceless and heaps the treasures of culture and intelligence. The respectable writer uses the letters of the alphabet within the reach of all and establishes the treasures of the noble book, which extends consolation and ensures progress. And the composer embraces the 7 musical notes that are unaware of the existence of gold and indiscriminately offers to the world the treasures of the melody. Only work can form the true treasures of life. Even so, it is indispensable that we know how to distinguish the worthy action from the inferior exploitation. Growers of coca, cocaine, and poppy who abuse these medicinal plants, turning them into lodges of money in the illicit cocaine and opium market, they say that they work, and actually they only make addicts and unhappy people. It is necessary to know what we produce in order to know where we're going, because Jesus himself said convincingly, "Where you keep your treasure, you have withheld your heart." And the words of the Divine Master refer to both the clarities of the good as to the shadows of evil. So, dear friends, what is this message all about? It's about learning the laws of life. We live in a world, in a universe that has order in itself. And one of the main laws is action and reaction. We cannot achieve any treasure without actually having built it. And we're not talking about the treasure of money. We're talking about the treasure of anything, including a well-balanced mediumship. For us who are studying mediumship, who are willing to be good mediums, that's true treasure. When we look at a medium who has worked for 70 years of his life, like Divaldo Franco, and we see the treasures as the result of his 70 years, 7 decades of non-stop work on mediumship, I cannot pray to God and say, oh God, I wish you show me the way so I can produce the same. Because it's not going to happen overnight. It is an effort. It is a repetition that creates the results that we see. Same for Chico Xavier. Chico Xavier didn't write more than 462 books in a year or out of the blue. He worked on it little by little. Yes, in a way that is very advanced for us, which makes us think that he has been working on it for many reincarnations. And you're right. Like a Nobel Prize scientist, we know that scientist has not become itself in one life. I've met several Nobel Prize scientists working as a scientist. I'm far from being a rocket scientist. And I share with you, talking to them, they eat, they breathe science. As they dream, as they are eating, taking a shower, it's in their blood. And you can tell, they were born with it. For us spiritists, we understand it comes from many lives. Now, for us, we ask ourselves, Emmanuel is bringing the text from the medium's book. As Jesus told Nicodemus, Nicodemus, it's not enough to have studied these scriptures your whole life. You forgot. You have to feel them. Make it personal to you. Emmanuel is making this personal to us. How so? Let's see. He says, each human being emerges from the cradle to discover the talents that they bring regardless of earthly fortune, in order to help others valuing themselves. So tonight, the spirits are asking us, what are the talents that you need to unveil inside of you? The gifts through which you're supposed to help others. You are unique. What is it? Each one of us, we need to ask ourselves and create true treasures out of laboring these talents, multiplying them. So this is our homework for the next 24 hours. Discover our talents instead of looking at others and seeing, oh, that's so beautiful, I wish. Oh, that's so beautiful, I wish. Oh, so beautiful, I wish. You say, God bless, but I wish, and I want, and I firmly believe that I have my talents as a child of God, and I really, 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 really need to discover them. I'm going to repeat what Emmanuel said. Each human being emerges from the cradle to discover the talents that they bring regardless of earthly fortune. Chico Xavier was poor, poor, poor. And he became one of the wealthiest, but not financially, in formation of treasures. today we are able to be here tonight thanks to the talents that Chico Xavier had in himself. He was not shy to unfold them and allow us to enjoy the riches that he formed with his labor. I know this text is not his, but it came through him. Were it not for the medium, we wouldn't be here. And we've been studying Chico Xavier's works for more than a year, non-stop. Every day, exception to a few days here and there, but it's been more than a year already. Thanks to this almost infinite work that he provided to us. He made a choice. So you may begin asking, Vanessa, where do I begin? It begins with a decision. A decision. Do you want to discover your talents? Do you want to discover them? Do you doubt your capacity because of prejudices? Because if you don't doubt, people's prejudices are not going to be obstacles for you. History tells us. So it's up to you to make one decision. Once I make a decision, yes, I would like to discover my talents and help others with them. You have a guardian angel. The guardian angel who is very watchful, loving and caring, is gonna say like a wonderful teacher, "Yippee! Finally I have a good student." So, the bottom line, if you wanna be a good student, life is gonna teach you. Life is gonna show you the way. And it's gonna be different. It's gonna be unique. Don't be surprised. Because your talents are your talents. They are nobody else's talents. Bless the talents of others, but focus on yours. Focus on yours. Create partnerships, teamwork efforts, but don't forget, each one of us is unique. We have a different role. And he says here, only work can form the true treasures of life. Yeah, you may be saying, but Vanessa, we live in a material world. I'm not going to sing Madonna's song here because I don't even know. But a material world, I agree with you. Who doesn't need money? But don't you remember, money is from God. Money came from God too. Remember the elements of the universe, matter and spirit. Matter and spirit. Matter and spirit. And any matter is a derivation from the most primitive matter. So money is from God. Says Emmanuel in the book Money. We have already studied here. You can find the series of our studies on the YouTube at Kardec Radio. And here Emmanuel says to us, in spite of the material needs, we can't forget or lose sight that we're spirits. And we have our long journey. So the focus is in the essence. We deal with matter. Of course, we comb our hairs. We use makeup or not. We dress up or not. We use perfume. This is not being materialistic. It's self-care. Being materialistic is when I think that this is the end, not the means. Being materialistic is focusing and prioritizing the material needs. If I don't have a brush to comb my hair, I'm not gonna go desperate. But there are people who will go desperate. Because they think that combing their hair is the essential element to express their beauty. I'm just giving a silly example. But this is what materialism is all about. When we think that being symbiotically living with our family members is to show love, that is materialism. Because Jesus himself, as a guide and a model, he showed to us that to love our family is one thing. To symbiotically live with them and do what they do and be alike. You know, we have peer pressure, we have family pressure. That's not necessarily love. That's called another thing. Materialism. Attachment. And we learn in the Heaven and Hell book, in its first chapter, before we talk about the cases of the second part of the book, Kardec explains to us that our discarnation after death, death is when the body dies. Discarnation is when we detach paraspiritually. That discarnation is going to depend on the bonds between the perispirit and the physical body. And they depend on our attachments. The more attached we are to, including family, the more in trouble we're going to be. Yeah, don't be shocked, but let's work on it. There's even a message by Humberto de Campos that says, preparation for death, and we have already worked upon it at Kardec Radio. If you go to kardecradio.com, you click podcasts, you type in the search bar, preparation for death, you're going to hear the program, the message by Humberto de Campos, and the explanation about it all. So here we have our opportunity to detach. And as I saw one day, to detach doesn't mean not love. I can love my family members very much, but I'm not gonna think that they are the goal of my life. The goal of life is to love not only our family, but everyone. When I prioritize my family versus everybody else, then I am proving myself to be materialistic. Of course, I'm not saying if you have an elderly mom or dad or daughter or son, and particularly for a phase of your life you have to dedicate more, that's love. But we're talking about people who don't make choices in their lives without consulting family members. And they even avoid making decisions in the direction that they would like because their family members, their relatives, don't think alike. I'll never forget once at the Spiritist Society of Baltimore, many years ago, because the Spirit Society of Baltimore is going to turn 20 years this year in October. I never forget when a lady came to our meeting and I felt deep compassion for her. She came and said, I can no longer come back to the center. And I said, why? Because my 9-year-old son does not want me to come. And I shook my head and I said, can you say it again? And then she repeated it. And I asked her, your 9-year-old doesn't allow you to come, and you're the mother, and you're going to obey your son? You're going to obey to your son? How so? Oh, because he's upset and he doesn't like that I come here. That is what I call materialism. That's what the spirits have explained to us. My son is a child of God as much as I am. In this life, I am the mother. Reversing it and even allowing this temporary bond to overshadow a personal decision is the living proof that I'm living a non-spiritual life. Yes, like Livia, in the book 2,000 years ago. I know every night we repeat these books, and there is a reason. 2,000 years ago by Emmanuel, Livia, the spouse of the senator Publius Lentulus, she embraces the teachings of Jesus Christ. She met him in person, and as a Roman patrician, she decides to follow those teachings in spite of the will of her spouse, the senator, the all-powerful he thought he was, and today he's here with us. But she never stopped cherishing the teachings, meeting in the catacombs, because her spouse didn't agree. I know many spouses in the 21st century that prefer to quit their mission of being mediums, spiritist practitioners, because their spouses do not agree. I'm so sorry, but read the book 2,000 years ago and think that the bond between you and your spouse is temporary. That you shall love God above all things first, then yourself, and then others. You cannot love your husband or your wife first, then yourself, and then God. That order does not make any sense. There is only one God, and it's not your spouse. It's not your son, or your daughter, or your sister, or your brother. There is only one God, only one Lord in this universe, and that is God. Whether we call him God or Source, whatever we want to call, Allah, Jehovah, it's up to us. The light. What we know is that that supreme intelligence of the universe, first cause of all things, is our focus. Our whole dedication is to God. As Jesus said to John, and this is portrayed in a beautiful chapter in the book Good News, faithful to God, loyalty to God. And there is a moment in which John is puzzled. Why? Why did I sleep in the most critical time for the Master? I love the Master, and when he asked me to pray with him, I slept. Jesus discarnated. And John kept asking this excruciating question. Why? One day Jesus comes back and explains to him. Loyalty to God. Key element in life. We need to be faithful to God. So if you need to work on your mediumship, under the light of Spiritism, while your family members, your city, your country doesn't understand it, bless them, or bless your pathway with God. Because sooner or later, somebody needs to give that step and be courageous to face the odds, to shift things where we are. And that's when you're going to build a treasure wherever you are. Many people are suffering nowadays because of obsessions. Self-obsession and obsession of spirits. And only the power of these obsession meetings can more easily rescue those entities. Spiritual treatments So we need to form more groups, responsible, serious, committed. But we can only do it when people make a choice. If that is your talent, work on it. Be courageous. Because we need more groups around the world. So these spirits who obsess can be counseled, treated, and prepared for their reincarnation. We can bring relief to people's lives. Tonight, as Emmanuel is saying, it is indispensable that we know how to distinguish the worthy action from the inferior exploitation. One thing is to count on the spirits to find money and to double check if I'm going to the right direction. Should I marry this person? Should I sell this house? Should I build a house? Can you ask the spirits if I should paint white or blue? But Vanessa, you talk to the spirits. The spirits will tell you, I don't think so. I don't ask these questions to Mentor Joseph or to other spirits. Why? Because I have reasoning. I'm not their puppet, and they don't want me to be their puppet either. Only the mocking spirits want us to be puppet. And that's when we're going to see silly things. I remember going to a non-spiritist, another meeting, spiritualist meeting, where there aren't many rules. And people start playing funny things. And one day, one of those mediums were visiting us at the Spiritist side of Baltimore. And I say this with the utmost kindness because I'm not revealing the names. But just to give us an idea of what we shall not do. This lady came to me and said, came from another state and said, something funny is happening. And I said, what is it? My clients, she's a medium, a psychic, but paid for it. And she said, my clients, they are being scared of me. And I said, what are you doing? And she told me, whenever I start my approach, they start being scared. And it doesn't work. And I said, but what do you do? Well, the spirits come through me and they want to sniff. No, literally, like a dog. You know? Like sniffing. I sniff the person's body, as the spirit wants me to do, to deliver the message. And she started doing the sniffing on me. And I got pretty scared. I was like, that's a little too intense. Are you serious you do this? I'll tell you the truth. These spirits are not serious spirits. High spirits, they don't have that approach. Their approach is soft, firm, kind, rational. Sniffing, the superior spirits don't need sniffing. Low order spirits are mocking you and are playing with you. That's why you need to read the medium's book. You don't need to be a spiritist, but you need the framework of spiritism to educate your mediumship and make sure that you use your talent to help others wherever you are. Mocking spirits exist, and they know you're a medium, they know I'm a medium, and if I'm too gullible, and they study us to see our weaknesses, they're gonna play the buttons of our weaknesses, our ego, the fragilities, the difficulties. They're gonna play exactly on them. And that's why Emmanuel says to us, it is necessary to know what we produce in order to know where we're going. Where you keep your treasure, you have your heart. So, What is your constant theme? That's where your treasure is. And the words of the Divine Master refer both to the clarities of the good as to the shadows of evil. Meaning, we need to identify and know ourselves very deeply to not be puppets of the bad spirits. Fear is one of the elements that opens huge doors to lower their spirits. Fear. The fear of not controlling. The fear of not being the center. The fear of this, that, and the other. And we start playing games with people. The spirits play games with us as well. So where are we, dear friends? Right? Let's ask this question, and let me say hi while we meditate on this before we wrap up the program today. Helen, how are you? You are in the Philippines now? Big hug to you. Andrea Torres, how are you? Is it too cold in Chicago? In Illinois? Anna from Alabama. How is our beautiful Alabama? We're so proud of Alabama. How are you? Raquel Bakeshi. How are you? Nina. How are you, Nina? So, my friend So, how are you? Teresa Castro. Is it too cold there? But it's getting better, right? It's getting warmer. Nora Brazil. How are you? Katia. How are you, Katia? Ah, Paula, how are you? John the Rose, a big hug to you, my friend. Karina Lisi, how are you? Julija, in our beautiful Australia. How are you in that beautiful weather? Narciso, our light man, how are you? André, Adriana Sanchez Monteiro, how are you, Adriana? Cessa, how are you, Cessa? Angelita, and Sunshine, how are you? Rihanna, how are you, Rihanna? Adilson, Lea Severo, how are you? Rudy, present and grateful. I'm grateful to you too. So friends, as we ask about our hidden treasures, let's ask ourselves, what is the talent that I have in myself? Shall we unfold it 24 hours? Come on, let us work on this and ask ourselves, what are the talents I have that I'm just keeping them aside, doubting the gifts of God? You remember the parable of the talents, right? The one that had self-doubt, hid the treasure, and at the end of the day, didn't multiply. Instead of asking the spirits where the treasure is, you're the treasure. Remember the song, I am light, I am light. I am light, I am light. You're light. Your light, your love, your joy of living. Let's keep affirming this to catapult these talents from inside of us. And particularly regarding mediumship, no more fear. Go for it. The good spirits are accompanying those who are serious, committed, and willing to learn and to serve. Right? Talking about it, of course, we know things are not that simple. And that's why the next chapter, which is chapter 50, is about troublemakers. Yes. Those brothers and sisters who are troublemakers, right? Yes, Rudy, Kardec Radio. Yeah, comes from above, right? Is our treasure. I agree with you. It's a treasure for all of us. Thank you. Troublemakers. Tomorrow when we come back, you know those people that create obstacles, impediments. Emmanuel talks about them. And he starts the chapter by saying, yes, there are always many of them. And what should we do? He says, don't say you're useless, but preaching only does not do the deal. What do we need to do? Come back tomorrow, and we're going to tell you what Emmanuel, in his wisdom, is going to share with us. Kardec Radio is here to help us nourish our souls, illuminate our lives, and let your light shine. Shall we, sunshine? Talking about shine, sunshine. Yes? This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Thank you, friends. Many blessings, finding the hidden treasures inside of us. Many blessings.